Hi guys, today I wanted to chat with you about the type of water that we drink in our house and why we choose to drink it. So I did have a friend request this topic and I thought it would be perfect to post in place of my normal what I eat in a day video, just because I do think it's so important the type of water that we ingest. Our bodies are made up of something like 70% water, so it's important to pay attention to the quality that we're putting into ourselves, right? So I'm going to put it straight out there. The type of water that we drink is distilled, which is also known as demineralized water. And that word puts a lot of people off. And I'm going to explain to you why we actually think that's a good thing. And that's the exact reason why we drink it. So we've been drinking distilled water for something like the last 4.5 years. And we're at the point now where whenever we drink a different type of water, it doesn't even taste right to us. But I will drink any water that is available if I'm not in the house and I haven't brought distilled water with me. Just FYI. So if you guys don't know what distilled water is, it's basically water that has been heated up, and instead of just letting it evaporate away, you collect that steam and then it drips out through a filter normally, just for extra removal. And what you are left with in theory is pure H2O. So distilled water would be your absolute purest form of water. Nature gives us distilled water in the form of rain. So that is actually what would come out from the sky. Whereas if you're buying bottled water, it's typically either tap water or spring water. And spring water is actually sold a lot of times, and they promote that it's full of good minerals. And most doctors would, recommend that you would drink that or tap water. I'm not even going to get into tap water too much. I think that a lot of people do realize, for obvious reasons, that tap water is not the best choice. And if you're the type of person that believes that, the government wouldn't choose to hurt you, and that if they're putting something in the water system, it's for our benefit, then you're probably not even watching this video. So like I said, I'm not going to get into the whole tap water debate. This is going to be more like spring water versus distilled water versus filtered water. So the reason we drink distilled water is that personally, I don't believe, and I say I don't believe because there is science to back distilled water, and there is science to back spring water, and there is science to back tap water even, because when it comes down to it, science is not perfect. It is 99.99% of the time a very biased situation where you choose what you want your outcome to be before you start the actual experiment. And this can be on purpose, or it can be even not even realizing that you're choosing what you want your outcome to be, but that's just the reality of science. So you've got every kind of, you can make any kind of statement basically and say that it's backed by science. So I don't like to get scientific. I just like to say that this is what I choose to believe. I choose to believe that our bodies do not best absorb the minerals that are present in spring water. So minerals that are present in spring water, it's considered to be inorganic. And a lot of times if the body can't handle the excretion or removal of it, it will store it in your body's like fatty tissues. It can be what causes things like kidney. Well, I don't know if it's actually proven to, but a lot of people will theorize that this is what causes things like kidney stones, calcification in your bones or joints, whatever the right word would be. Sorry, guys. These are what causes deposits in our body that give us things like arthritis, aches and pains, gallstones, and that is exactly why we drink distilled water. Sorry, I'm like losing my train of thought. I'm like not all there today or ever. But anyway, yeah, so that's why we drink distilled water. Distilled water is just pure water. There are no minerals in it at all. And one of the other reasons that a lot of people don't drink distilled water is because it is known to be acidic. but I will say that it is mildly acidic. So when I'm talking about acidic, I'm talking about like acid versus alkaline. And I think a neutral pH is at a 7. I might not be right about that, but I'm pretty sure a neutral pH is a 7. Anything below 7 would be considered acidic, and anything above 7 would be considered alkaline. And distilled water falls like just a little under it, and that is because of something that it just naturally reacts with that's present in the air. But personally, I'm not really, I'm not concerned about it being an acid drink, only because everything that we ingest is acid or alkaline. And when I say that it's just mildly acidic, distilled water, I believe generally, you would actually need to test your own waters, and like they'll change all the time based on conditions around you. But distilled water tends to be, I think, somewhere around 5.5 or 6, whereas things like orange juice, coffee, tea, apple juice, like all sorts of drinks are much more acidic than that. And let's not even get into soda. I think soda is like pretty much like battery acid. It's like drinking battery acid. But we all know that soda is not good for us, right? But things like orange juice, like I think orange juice is something like around a 3.5 or a 4. Don't quote me. You guys can look this stuff up. And honestly, when you look these things up, different sources will give you different numbers anyway, because you can, like orange juice or distilled water, you can test one and you're going to get one number. You can test another, you're going to get a different number. And the thing with acidity is that, I don't know, it's just everything that we eat is either acid or alkaline. And to me, the whole purpose of eating a abundant plant-based diet is that you are getting lots of alkaline foods in greens and other foods that you're eating, and that we're putting into our body. And our body balances these things out naturally on its own. It's only when you're having really large amounts of acid forming food. So yes, if you're having a lot of junk food, if you're eating a lot of proteins, especially animal proteins, if you're drinking tons of coffee and drinking lots of soda, you probably would have an acidic environment in your body, and that would be something that you would want to fix. However, I don't think that having alkaline water is really the way to fix it. I would say the way to fix it is to remove the majority of these foods that I've just mentioned and to replace them with whole plant foods. But even like lots of whole plant foods could be acid versus alkaline. Not everything is alkaline, but the things that we want to eat the most of are alkaline. But this is a whole different topic. You can look into acid versus alkaline if it is interesting to you and you've never heard of it before. But yeah, anyway, acid versus alkaline is not something that worries me when I'm drinking my water. Because like I said, our bodies, when they're healthy, should be balancing that out on its own. And we do eat a lot of greens and stuff in our diet, a lot of plant foods in our diet that would keep our bodies alkaline overall. Stay on topic, Diana, stay on topic. Clearly I did not think this through before I started talking, hence I am all over the place. So in the same vein of why I'm not worried about distilled water being acidic, it's the same reasoning why I'm not worried about it being demineralized. Basically, yes, distilled water does not have minerals in it, but I think I already mentioned that I don't believe that our bodies can absorb those minerals best. So where should we be getting our minerals from? Well, we should be getting our minerals from plant foods, natural foods that come out of the ground that absorb the minerals and turn the minerals into something that our bodies can easily assimilate. So minerals that are found in plant foods would be considered organic, and that is what our bodies best absorb and utilize. So, you know, we look to our diet and what we're eating for our minerals, and we don't worry about that in the water that we drink. All right, guys, sorry that was so long-winded, and I'm sure I left a lot of things out because I feel like I'm so scatterbrained. But if you're confused and you're still interested, leave a question in the comments down below. I tend to write things out and explain better than I do speaking. I just trip over my tongue when I'm trying to talk. So anyway, we do also use a Berkey water filter for other water needs beyond what we drink. So if I'm cooking something that uses where you're eating all of the water, if that makes any sense, I do still use distilled water. So if I'm making rice, I use distilled water. If I'm making soup, I use distilled water. But if I'm doing something where you're throwing out the leftover water, like boiling pasta, I use water from the Berkey water filter. And the only reason we use the Berkey one is because I feel like that's probably the best water filter that we can get our hands on as far as what we can afford. That being said, I don't think water filters are really the best answer because I find it hard to believe that they have the kind of technology that can remove all of the bad stuff but leave in all of the good stuff. Sounds a little too good to be true, right? But I still use one because it's better than no filter at all. Ideally, I would still use distilled water, but distilled water is a really long process. It takes about 4.5 hours for the machine that we use to make about I think it's about 4 liters, like a gallon of water. And we run that twice a day. So it's just, that's already a lot to do and a lot of time to be waiting for the water to be made. So that's pretty much just what we use for drinking purposes and a little bit of our cooking purposes. But otherwise, we use water from the Berkey water filter to fill in for other water needs that we might have. Yeah, so this video makes no sense, but I hope you guys liked it. I will see you for my next video, and yeah, like I said, I'm sure I'm leaving you guys with lots of questions, or you're just thinking this lady makes no sense. Leave a question for me down below. I'd love to get back to you. Just tell me that I'm crazy. Bye, guys.